Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole Taylor, and today we are talking about self-care and SEL right in the middle of COVID-19. But we were discussing earlier, it's just an important topic, just as those of us who work with students, and that's a stressful job in itself. So I thought I'd get to a couple of my friends together who have a little bit more knowledge in this subject area than I do, so we can just kind of talk and share some tips and tools to help people fill their toolbox. So why don't we get started by you guys just introducing yourselves and letting everybody know a little bit about you.
Okay, I'll go. My name is Reverend Lewis. I am a school counselor. I've actually been in education for 21 years now. I've actually worked with all grade levels, elementary, middle school, as well as high school. And I've worked in a comprehensive school as well as alternative education. I currently serve as a school counselor in Lancaster ISD, where I work with 6th grade students.
Awesome. Hi everyone, I'm Kristen Nichols, and I'm originally from Houston, but I've been in Dallas for over a decade now, and I'll be starting my 12th year with Life School. It's a charter school district in Dallas, and I started it in special education, middle school, and then moved to elementary, and now I'm serving as the district elementary behavior coach, and I'm glad to be here.
Hi, my name is Melody McAlister, and I am a mother of 5. I am an educator, author, blogger, and logistics manager for EduMatch Publishing, and spent half of my life in the DFW area, but now I'm in Alaska. I'm also, this is the story, I'm sorry story, and I plug that only because it is actually socially, emotionally learning, like geared towards it. I wrote it to help my students deal with taking responsibility and learning how to apologize to each other. That's the only reason I give that plug. But so glad to be here, and especially in the presence of amazing women. So thanks.
Yeah, I just noticed that girl power. Just noticed that. So listen, y'all, I'm home with 3 kids all day, and I've been here with them for 9 weeks. I love them. I love them a lot. But I've been here with them for 9 weeks. I've had a couple days where I've just crashed. Like I just have can't explain how I'm feeling, why I'm feeling that way, but I've just crashed. So how can we or should we prioritize self-care right now, especially like in the middle of a global crisis?
Do you care if I answer that first?
No, go ahead.
Well, here's the thing. What you're saying is absolutely so normal. And I am normally a very, outgoing person, charismatic, blah, blah, blah. And there are days I've woken up and I'm just like, I just want to stay in bed. I don't normally have these thoughts, but I have had really, and I have 10,000 things to do like everybody else, but I could not find that motivation because we're living in a time where everything is being shut down. We've never lived like this before. So we're dealing with some emotionally, just tough times. We're not seeing people. We're not feeding off of the energy of people. My friend Stacia told me that today, like we really miss that. And I just want to offer to parents, if you're keeping your kids alive right now if they're alive, I think you're doing a great job. And I just want to give you kudos.
And I just want to chime in on what Melody said. I mean, for me, I would think the first thing that we have to ask ourselves is, what does self-care look like for you? Because I think a lot of people have a different definition of self-care. And that's for parents as well as for kids. And so when you're talking about a parent who, as she said, I may have 5 kids, I'm at the home with those 5 kids. Nicole, I know you have 3 kiddos and a husband, as well as Millie does, to take care of. You have to ask yourself, what does that look like? And it's going to look different for every single person in that household. And so I tell parents, the first thing is you need to assess, what do you normally do or what do you need to do to make sure that you're okay? If it's, you know what, I just need some time by myself. Maybe you need to get up a little bit earlier in the morning and prioritize. I'm going to get up 30 minutes earlier. This is the time where I'm going to sit down, meditate. Maybe it's just having my coffee, reading my paper. Even with the kiddos, I notice a lot of parents, when I've talked to them, have been struggling because they're literally having their kids in school from 7:30 in the morning to 5 o'clock in the evening. And I'm like, Mom, we don't stay at school until 5 o'clock in the evening. And so kids need that same thing. They need that downtime. And so I tell parents, what does your child like to do? You know what, if they like playing Minecraft, build that into their schedule, because you have to keep them on the schedule. If you have, we have recess, build that into their schedule. So the first thing is you have to figure out, what does self-care look like for you, and figure out, how do I incorporate that in my day as well as my children's day?
Yes.
That's really good. And just keep picking back off y'all. Just realizing that part of self-care is learning to know yourself and developing a healthy relationship with yourself. We know relationships are the foundation of everything. And right now, it's hard to have that connection, the relationship with others, because we are more isolated and, 6 feet apart and et cetera. But I just always bring it back to that it starts with us. And so just knowing ourselves more, our feelings, emotions drive our behaviors. So knowing your strengths, your triggers, your core values will gain clarity of your purpose at home during work time. I just think being anchored in purpose makes you able to deal with setbacks and challenges during this time. And I know many of y'all probably have heard the saying, you have to Maslow before you bloom. Right. And so meeting our basic needs right now before we can bloom, and whatever that may look like. But I always bring it back to really look at Abraham's Maslow's framework. I think it's a perfect way to start researching that and looking at that, because that serves you as your self-care guide to realizing what needs are not being met and what are being met. And so there's a link that I know Nicole's going to share with you before we leave today about a survey. It's very quick. It's simple. Maslow has a pyramid. It's actually been updated to 8 areas on the pyramid, but the one I'm going to talk about is just 5. But it's just a quick, short, brief survey to check in with yourself and see what needs are not being met during this time. It starts with the physiological, so food, water, sleep, and shelter. Right now, sleep, are we even sleeping? I know people that sleep a few hours and they're up all night. Food, when we haven't eaten and we become angry, we're hangry. And so it's just checking in with what is not being met and how can we attempt to meet those needs during this time. And so just real quickly, just to review the pyramid, it starts with the food, water, sleep, shelter, and then our safety needs. So that's physical and financial being stable. Right now, millions and millions of people have lost their job. And so financially, what's happening? Fear, anxiety, all these emotions are creeping in and keeping people up at night. So those needs are not being met. Then we have love and belonging. And so that's our social needs. And right now we're in the house, so we have to be far apart from each other. So those needs. And then there's, what's the next? Our self-esteem, our STEAM needs. So that's our internal environment. So just checking in with what do we think of ourselves? And then at the very top of the pyramid is the self-accusation. So that's our personal growth. So it just talks about that. It's like a ladder. They build off each other. And so just checking in with yourself to see what needs are being met and aren't being met. And I just feel like that's a good place to start. And so I know Nicole will share that link, and it's 4 questions per each category of the pyramid. But I just think that's a great place to start in developing what your self-care look like. Just like you said, that it looks different for everyone.
I love the fact that what I kept hearing you say was check in with yourself. Check in with yourself. Yes. Because what I needed at 20 changed at 25. It changed at, it changes even within a year. What I need in the summer is different from what I need in the fall, what I need in the spring. So even after I know what I need to feel rested and to feel, to feel comfortable, right? But even checking in, because those needs changed. They change.
Right. Different seasons, different types of the year.
Right.
Is different needs that need to be met, and figuring out how can I meet those needs. And it's going to look different for everyone in every season, but it's very important just that.
Totally agree.
And I just want to add too that like our needs are actually so different right now than they normally are. Is it, how do you say, Arabrian?
Arabrian.
Arabrian. I loved how you said that parents are trying to have their kids on school. They're trying to do the right thing.
Correct.
But the thing is that there is no right thing right now because we cannot replicate what life was before this pandemic to what we're doing now. That causes so much stress. And there are so many amazing parents that want to do everything they can to support their students, but really it's a health focus. And Kristen, when you said something about being anchored in purpose, even that causes stress for us right now because a lot of us that aren't working or our purpose just looks so different than it ever did. I mean, literally, I keep telling anybody that will listen to me that your purpose right now is to keep yourself alive, to keep yourself as healthy as you can, physically and mentally, spiritually, and every order. And then obviously you want to keep your kids alive too. I mean, I'm trying anyway.
Absolutely.
There are times where I just want to, but I don't act on that. So I feel like I'm a winner most of the time. And, our kids are going through the same thing. The outbursts, there's always a reason behind the outburst. And it's usually because they miss their friends and, or sometimes we forget that, they're bigger kids and they're not as cute as little puppies anymore. So we don't hug them as much and everybody needs that human touch. But it just, the needs that we need to focus on just feel so different right now. And we're feeling things that we've never felt before because it's what do you call uncharted waters.
Right.
Absolutely.
So in thinking
our
about
purpose looks different.
Oh yeah, for sure. So in thinking about caring for kids, I know Kristen and I've had a lot of conversations about like SEL and her goal and her plans to help the teachers that she supports with SEL. So how would you define SEL? Because I want to make sure people understand even what that is.
Well, I'm going to actually read Castle's just in a second, but my personal opinion first, and then I'll read the real deal definition. But to me, social emotional learning is the foundation, the heartbeat of life, of the classroom, of the school. It's about connecting everyone and making them feel safe and secure before we even get to the academics. And those are our social skills of, self-awareness, social awareness, relationship skills, self-management, and achieving and setting goals. And so just all the life skills that we need it to be as human beings, it's working on those and focusing on those. But as Castle, which stands for Collaborative Academic Social Emotional Learning, defines SEL as how children and adults learn to understand and manage emotions, set goals, show empathy for others, establish positive relationships, and make responsible decisions through self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship and responsible decision-making. So it's our life skills.
It sounds like,
for me,
it sounds like mommy, right? It sounds like raising children.
And I was just about to say that in its simplistic form, for me, especially as a school counselor, when you work with, a lot of times parents don't understand that educational lingo.
Yeah.
I tell parents all the time, at the end of the day, think about when you were a kid and the village that poured into you. And so that's where you learned and picked up a lot of those social skills. A lot of times with kiddos, you've all seen the poster that say everything I needed to learn, I learned it when I was in kindergarten. And that's what I think about a lot of times. What are we doing to make sure that we're practicing those skills that they should be getting at home? And if they're not getting at home, we're implementing them at school. And so you're talking about the self-esteem, you're talking about those character traits like being respectful, being trustworthy, being honest, being kind, all of those types of things. And so for me, when SEL, probably like the last 5 to 6 years, it's been a big thing. I've always just said, this is just character traits that we got when we were kids, but now I think it's more intentional because the family dynamic has changed so much over the last 10 to 15 years that we realize we have to be intentional in making sure kids are exposed to these character traits. One of the things, and I'm going to let somebody else chime in just a second, one of the things that I did share with parents in my SEL minute, I said, one of the things that was instrumental for me growing up, and I don't know how old you are, I'm not going to say how old I am, but I remember watching Facts of Life. I remember watching The Cosby Show. I remember watching Growing Pains. I remember watching Silver Spoons. I remember watching Mr. Rogers. And what we didn't realize was those were times when we were learning those social skills through the role playing that was taking place on television. And fortunately, a lot of those types of television shows aren't prevalent right now. And so even if you didn't have parents back then who knew to do this, we did have parents who sat down with us and talked about those different scenarios a lot of times that took place on television. And so I just try to tell parents, just think about those things that you were exposed to and how it helped to rear you into the type of adult that you are.
And even Arabrian, while I was listening to you talk, the family dynamic has changed, but even like the school structure, there's so much emphasis on testing now. Because I can remember, like, way back in the 80s, when I was in school, like, you knew you took the test, right?
Right,
but
exactly.
We didn't start talking about the test.
About it.
Right, or prepping for that test. Like, we took field trips, and we went to the library and got these great lessons, and we walked the neighborhood. Teachers just don't even have time for that, right? They just don't have time for that. So I think that a lot of times also, like, there is a need, but there just isn't time. There's so many competing forces that are saying, you know, this is most important and that is most important. But I'm just thinking like post-COVID, because now we think of life in terms of like pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, like that's got to be at the forefront of everything that we do, because it just has to.
I
agree. And I kind of take this as a positive spin to all that's going on, is that, of course, we've always believed probably, you know, parts of SEL, self-care are so important in all jobs, but especially education. And we've maybe have explored it and brought awareness to it. But because of this situation, it's not going to really be an option that we can't, you know, implement it, if you will. So to me, that's my positive spin of it, is that like, it excites me that, you know, we can emphasize and incorporate it more, infuse it more than we have before, because it's not really an option, you know, it's needed.
I agree.
So.
I feel like the only real thing that we can do is to take the good, take the bad, take them all, and there you have the facts of life.
Love it. Love it.
Sorry.
But that's true. That is true. So that kind of leads me to my next question, because, like, you know, I do have 3 kids. I think all of y'all have met my 3 kids. I have one that is really struggling with being home. Like, he takes frequent breaks outside. Like, he has told me, like, I love you so much, but this is hard, just being home every single day. So what advice do you have for parents or grandparents or aunties, whoever is home with these kids? Like, how do we infuse our daytime? Because, like, I'm working full time,
right,
while I'm also mommying full time, while I'm also helping with work full time. So how can they take this like SEL knowledge and care for their kids, like dial into how their kids are feeling?
Do you mind if I take this one?
Go ahead.
You know, I think something that your son is doing well is, like, we have to go outside. I didn't realize that there were days where I didn't go outside. And of course, we were covered in snow until 2 or 3 weeks ago. So it was easier for me. I was over the snow to stay inside. But really going outside and looking at nature, looking at the sky, you know, don't look directly at the sun, but you know what I'm saying. Feeling the warmth. I mean, it makes you feel like you're not so isolated all of the time. And I'm constantly trying to keep my kids quiet, because my husband gets on conference calls and it's usually my duty to keep the kids quiet. And so going outside has really been a godsend. And also, I do not like my kids to be on devices for too long, because I've seen the effects of it. But right now, cut yourself some slack. Like, if you have to put your kids on device. This morning I had to. My husband, he was like, I'm on this conference call, the kids are going crazy. And I found a device. I let them work on my computer, which I hardly ever do, because I wanted every kid to have like something they could just zone out. And we have to cut ourselves some slack right there. And, you know, we're trying to always model the behavior that we want our kids to do. Unfortunately, we're also modeling the behavior that we don't want them to do. I am anyway, I mean, and I'm the first to say I mess up all the time. And one thing that is so appropriate is just to apologize. You know, this is a great time to learn how to take responsibility. This is something every single day I talk about, especially with my older kids, taking responsibility. Stop blaming other people for your outbursts and such. And also, and like I said earlier, just why are we having these outbursts? Analyzing, yeah, you've been on your device for too long. It's causing you, this tantrum is not your normal. And they are actually seeing it. And finally, it's like connecting the dots for them. And then, and also something I've had to do as a mom is just hug my kids so much more. I don't know how we got like not hugging all the time, but like that touch is so important. And, you know, the kisses are so important. I don't even care about schoolwork anymore. Like I do require math and reading every day. And I make the science and the social studies go with the reading so that it's not just, but sometimes I don't even care about that. Like I'll just read a book with you. Let's read a book together. Let's talk about what you're reading, or you go off and you read. Like work doesn't have to look like a worksheet. It doesn't have to be a workbook page. I mean, this is all about just literally surviving and trying to thrive. The fact that we can thrive in this situation puts us in a privilege that so many people in this world and country do not have. And so those are the things that I focus on every day for myself and for my kids.
And what I was going to say was just thinking about the age that Paul is, you know, most kids 13 to 17 years old, we're asking them to go against everything that developmentally is normal for them right now. You're telling a 13 to 17-year-old, no, you can't be around your friends. No, you can't hang out. No, you can't do A, B, and C. And it's normal for them to want to do that. And so what I do feel is you have to figure out ways to be intentional for them to still get that social time in. I tell parents, you know what, TikTok is really a big thing with kids right now. Make a TikTok video with your kid. Try to find some things that they would normally do as teenagers and do it with them as a family. Even with the devices, we're on Zoom right now. Kids can still interact with one another. This is a perfect time for them to learn how to talk as opposed to texting. Sit down and get on the computer and interact with one another. Exactly. And so I think with teenagers, this is a perfect opportunity for them to learn how to be resilient, for them to learn how to find ways to do things in addition to what the norm would be. So they're developing some other skills there as well. But you just have to figure out what are some intentionality things I can do with them, because it is hard. It's very hard. It's hard for adults, but it's even harder for kids. So figure out what is it that he does like to do, and let's figure out how we can do that thing together as a family.
I love everything except you are not going to have me foolishly making TikTok.
But that's fun.
Yes, Knikole, we want to see you in action.
No,
that's your action item after this.
No, ma'am. But
that's
I have
the memories that he's making with his mom.
Oh my goodness, I love this now. I'm going to be on at you, Knikole.
Girl, that's not going to happen. But I have relaxed with like him jumping on, FaceTime with his friends and playing the video games. Like, because we used to have like time structures around that, like because he needs it. And I realized that like as a 16-year-old, like he craves that time with his.
They all do.
Friends. Yeah. For sure.
School is first, social second school for them.
That's true. Very true.
It is.
And you just have to remember to take it moment by moment. I'm a firm believer everyone is doing the best that they know how to do in that moment. And
I agree.
Self-compassion, compassion, grace. We will all make it through.
So I have one more thing I want to
ask. Wait, Knikole, I got to say one thing.
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but this is such a hashtag parent hack. Okay? Use the devices as leverage. If it is so hard for your kids to do chores, like I cannot, if that is hanging over their heads, time on the device, they will do anything that I say. I have them right here. But if I let them get on the device first.
Positive reinforcement, huh?
Yes. So don't be afraid to do that. We're just doing what we can. Thank you.
That's good. Hashtag parent hack or positive reinforcement, right? Either way, right? So I want, in closing today, thank you guys so much. I want to know, like, how are you taking care of yourself? maybe if anyone's looking for an idea to chill out, relax. For me, I've just been shutting down my computer and just walking away. Like I get to a certain point in the day and I'm like, let me go ahead and start writing down the things that are not going to happen today, because I'm going to shut down my computer and I'm either going to go watch TV or read a book, walk something, but I'm walking away from my computer.
Right.
What is one simple thing that you're doing right now to take care of yourself?
I don't have any little kids at home, and so
that you want some?
I don't. But what I will say is I really have been taking advantage of the getting up early and just going out for a walk. Like you said, that vitamin D hitting your face, that being outside in nature, just being in a position to be able to give thanks while you're walking and along with your thoughts. That's something that I've really taken advantage of in this new normal, being able to start my day that way before my actual work day starts.
That's good. Yeah, mine would be nature, walking for sure. So I have 3 walks I schedule throughout the day, and the practice the gratitude in it. And then music is a booster. So I need to put on some music and just have a dance party a little bit just to get my blood flowing. I do that too. One of my friends, I helped her do something for her, she was constantly, you know, how we all had some anxiety thoughts. And so I had her write down all her feelings and anxieties that she was having over. And then we simply just moved over the ones to the other column that she was in control of. And so she moved over about 3 out of her 10. And so she was able to verbalize those anxieties, write it down, and then realize there's really only about 3 that were in her control. So then we kind of came up with like a plan A and B for those. And the other one, she just ripped up that paper and just let out like a little burst. But for her, it was therapeutic to do that for many reasons. And so that's just a extra little.
And that's an excellent activity that you can do with kids as well, feeling anxious. I've actually shared that with parents because they need to know how to name what they're feeling, write it down. What can I control? What can what I can control, put here, what I can't, let's throw it away. We're not going to do this. But that's an excellent activity.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I want to just say that everything, yes, walking, nature, everything, throw a little day drinking in there and you've got me down. Seriously, I can't lie. Also, I have groups. I'm like involved in a lot of groups on Facebook, and Facebook is the place where I really connect with people because, you know, I haven't been working daily, like everything I do is online anymore. Well, I mean, like you guys now too. So that's how my relationships, but being involved in groups that you're learning from or that you're just having fun with, those are great things to do. But like this gives me energy, being able to face because I'm used to being by myself. And then when I can go out, because I've been home educating for the last year, so we go out, but I haven't been able to get out and go see. So actually seeing your beautiful faces today has really given me a lot of life. So I appreciate that. And just, you know, and forgiving yourself when you said, Knikole, earlier, when you have days where you just have to shut down. I think we're all experiencing those, forgiving ourselves, forgiving our spouses, forgiving our kids, when we just don't have enough to give for that day, is just definitely something that's helping all of us to get through. Oh my gosh. And I would be remiss to say praying. I didn't realize how calm it was when I would pray with my kids, because sometimes you get out of the habit. And now it's like, as soon as we start doing that, the peace comes back. And I think that's really important to hold tight to.
Yeah. And speaking off that, absolutely. And turning those prayers into like positive self-talk, affirming statements. I'm big about that. I have note cards everywhere, Post-its everywhere of just stuff that I constantly speak over my life. I may not be feeling those emotions. I may be feeling many other things, but you know what? I always talk to myself. I talk to that committee in my head and I'm like, no.
Exactly.
You know, I am worthy. I am loved today.
Exactly.
Like, you know, and so just speaking life over your life is.
Girl, you were in my house today, Kristen. I just talked about this today.
I don't know. Yes, I am a big believer in that.
Yeah.
Scriptures everywhere, but just to speak it into existence, even though you may not feel it in that moment. But I think there was a quote of something like, our brain is a supercomputer and our self-talk is the program it will run on. So
I like that. Our self-talk is the program our brain will run on. Yeah.
That's faith right there.
Yes.
Especially when we're not feeling it.
I feel like Kristen, you just like did a mic drop. I love
you brought the prayer. I was just feeding off her.
She brought the prayer and you brought the altar call. Like you were like
exactly.
The doors of the church are open. So in closing, if anyone wants to connect with you guys after this, maybe to ask questions or to grab more resources, Kristen shared some resources, and I'm going to share those out as well on all social media platforms along with this recording. But if anyone wants to connect with you directly, where can they find you guys?
So anybody can email me at Arabrian Lewis, just how it's spelled on the screen, at gmail.com. Again, I do SEL minutes that I share different tips and activities that parents can do with their kiddos at home. We do have a Facebook page, my campus, that I'm on, and I do that Facebook Live every Tuesday and Thursday at 1:30. And I would also encourage parents, and please make sure that you share this link with them, Knikole. Move This World is another SEL organization that have excellent parental videos that they can use at home with their kiddos to walk their children through the different components of SEL. And so I would encourage them to look at that resource as well.
Thank you.
Awesome. You can find me, and I just wrote your email down, Arabrian, because
Gotcha.
We're going to be friends. You too, Kristen, so you put that out there. So you can find me on Twitter at MJ McAllie Writes. That's MJMCALLIWRITES. That's my Twitter. And then my website is mjmcalliewrites.com. I write a blog. He gave me a melody.com. I really do friend most people on Facebook. If you want to find me on Facebook, I love relationships. And if there's any teacher or parent out there that wants to do like a live stream with a read aloud for the I'm Sorry story, it is a social emotional tool. I wrote it for my 5th graders years ago and have read it to them ever since. And we talk about it and we have conversations and we can do crafts or whatever, or not crafts. I mean, not everybody's a craft person. But anyway, I would love to be reach out to me. I've been doing a lot of that lately, and it's been a great experience. So, and thank you for having me on here, Knikole.
I was about to say the same thing. Thank you for having me, Knikole. Ladies, I truly enjoyed meeting both of you. This was wonderful conversation. I enjoyed this.
Yes.
Kristen, did you tell us how to reach you?
No, I did not. But I have a Twitter account. It's at Kristen Nichols _ KRIS, then Nichols is NICHOLS _. And I'm going to be more intentional on posting newsletters. I'm going to do, I don't know, I was in the fall, a behavior boost per week and some different challenges and many other things. But I know she's going to share those links. Also, there's another YouTube series that I just remembered. It's lessons for SEL.com, and then there's like 6-minute SEL lessons, and they have videos which are fabulous, and so far they've been releasing one once a week, so check that out too.
Thank you so much. Our resource page just got a little longer, but I'll be sure to share that out. And thank you guys so much for just sharing your expertise to help, because this is like, the only way I've been describing it is like, what a weird time to be alive. Like, this is something that our grandchildren will read about years from now and say, what is that? That was just so odd. So like Melody said, it's uncharted waters, but thank you guys for just showing tips and strategies to help us just maintain, give us some tools for our toolbox. So I appreciate it.
You are so welcome. So